What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another MMA show here at runpuresports.com. We got another fight night card on deck for tomorrow. I'm back with Title, and we're going to talk a little MMA. I think there's some changes to the card, which we can talk through throughout the show. But if you want to talk through the high points on, it looks like one big favorite got dropped and got replaced, and then another fight canceled, right? I only see two fights got adjusted, I think.
Yeah, from Sunday there might have been 3 or 4. I don't even know anymore. So much. There's been so many changes now since the UFC. Really, it's Wednesday and after is when you can start kind of feeling good about stuff. But I mean, Wednesday we had a late notice replacement. Journey Newsome. That's what you were talking about right there. He was supposed to fight Brian Kelleher. He was a pretty big dog. He was like Kelleher was like minus 180 for a while. Newsome got a lot of buy earlier in the week, and then Kelleher is out. In steps. Guy on 3 days' notice, Marcus McGee making his UFC debut, and Newsom's a minus 190 favorite. So, yeah, you get the 7,300 minus 190 favorite, the 7,200 dog. And there's only 11 fights on this card, too. We've had multiple cancellation stuff. We've had 2 weight misses that I last saw. One was 4 pounds as well. I'm not going to lie. It's a mess of a card, man. It's going to be hard to get unique. It's a lot of it's not a great DFS. It's not a good real life card either, to be honest. Main event's great. Very, very high level. Ricky Simone, Song Yadong, 2 of the best bantamweights in the world. There's some good scraps on here too, like Julian Rose. So there's certain fights I'm excited for, but DFS, not great. This is the UFC ahead of a big pay-per-view next week. Just trying to throw together whatever they can throw together. So hopefully we keep all 11 fights.
Yeah, you can always tell when the fight looks a little sketch or the card looks a little sketch when like a quarter of the books, offshore books, don't have odds for like round 1, round 2 finishes and stuff. It's like something's going on. So yeah, ready to attack it, man. Let's we can dive into the first fight. Let me know who's going.
Yep, I just saw Jacob Stubbs in chat. What's going on, Jacob? Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. But yeah, first fight of the night. We got Haley Cohen and Jamie Lynn Horth. Jamie Lynn Horth coming in as a little underdog. Got 8,300 Horth, 7,900 Cohen. Yeah, I'll throw it to you. I'll introduce the fights, throw it to you, see what you see for ownership, your planning there, and then I'll break down my perspectives. What you got in this first one?
Yeah, so honestly, I think there's a pretty big disparity between the two fighters, and you can break it down technically, but like at 8,300 and 7,900, like there's not much price difference between the two, and Jamie Lynn Horth is a pretty big favorite relative to the price difference. So ownership's going to go along with that. Again, we're still I aggregate ownership, and some books or some of the sites have not updated ownership in the last day or two. So this should change tomorrow. Like the Newsome fight he was at like 14%. That's not going to hold true. So
times that by 3.
Yeah, exactly. I put it at 45. So hopefully that's, even conservative. But I got Jamie Lynn Horth at 31% and Haley Cohen around 20%. So for me, I think Cohen's just a stay away. Like I see nothing enticing about her at the price. Again, you can break it down technically, but like Jamie Lynn Horth at the price looks like a pretty good spot to build a lot of lineups around. As far as finishing, looks like a 30% chance inside the distance, so not really high. But again, at 8,300, I'm just kind of looking for a floor a bit. And she's not going to be crazy owned as of this point. Again, it can change. But yeah, I think Jamie Lynn Horth is the play that I would target, and I probably won't have any Cohen.
Yeah, I don't love this fight to start off the card. Jamie Lynn, I think she comes in about 30%. I got her around 30. I got Cohen around like 9.
Okay.
Rightfully so, though. I mean, you look at the inside distance prop, you look at money line, 7,900 plus 550 to finish. Woman's fight, like she missed weight. She's supposed to fight like 3 times already this month, or at least what it felt like the past 2 months. Pulled out every time. Again, now she misses weight. The other girl, Jamie Lynn Horth, I believe she's coming up a weight class. And Haley Cohen, what she is, she used to be in gymnastics. Not every day you see a UFC fighter background in gymnastics. No, but she is. She's strong. She's good in the clinch. If she can get it to the match, she is pretty heavy on top. Again, she hasn't been training mixed martial arts her whole life or striking's in, but she is definitely strong. Jamie Lynn Horth, I think she wants to keep the fight probably at range, the better striker in this fight, no doubt. But I think Cohen's going to just try and use her strength and just push it up the clinch, make it kind of boring. On 11 fights, I always try and at least have 1 fight fade. I try to have 4 fades, something like that, depending on the size of the card and stuff in the playbook. It's hard to find fight fades you feel confident in this one. If you followed me for a while, yes, women's MMA, especially low-level women's MMA, fights that are supposed to go to decision that are closely lined, you're parlaying getting the winner right. You're parlaying more than likely a finish, which is not supposed to be on the optimal. Not necessarily an 11 fight card. You don't need like 100 points from all your fighters. So Jamie Lynn Horth gets 80. Could it be on the optimal? Maybe. I mean, there's only 11 fights. 60, 11 fights is probably going to be optimal. So yeah, I don't hate it. Again, at 30% ownership though, I just like others more in the range. I think there's live dogs. I think there's people, Ricky Simone's right there above them. It's just surrounded by Jay Collier and Budai fights right there. Quinlan fight right there. If I need a fade a fight, it's going to be a woman's fight, a coin flip fight that's supposed to go to decision. Definitely, if I played anyone, I'd like Jamie Lynn Horth more. But if you're telling me 30%, I think that's too high for a fight that I think goes to decision. And Cohen's game plan should be to try and make it boring, wear on her against the cage, and that just doesn't score very well.
Yeah, so this is a good example of how big a difference ownership makes. So like I had her at 20%. So like if I move her down to 9, she doubles in leverage over Jamie Lynn Horth. Like
Cohen, yeah.
Yeah, I would in that scenario, which may be true. I wouldn't have any Horth, and I would have Cohen actually in a leverage spot. And it's not like I'm going to have the same ownership exposure to Horth versus Cohen, and now I just flipped it. It's just at 9%, the leverage is so much greater in her winning at that decreased ownership. And again, even to decision at 7,900, if only 9% of the field has or 83 points, sounds pretty good. So
maybe 12, maybe 13, but yeah, like you said, ownership means a bunch. Like if Jamie Lynn's Horth 20%. Then I like Jamie Lynn, but I'd be surprised to see her at 20.
Exactly, yeah. So, again, check the ownership. It definitely matters in some of these fights. So, we can move to the next fight, which should be a pretty simple breakdown, I think.
Yeah, Journey Newson, Marcus McGee. That's we hinted at it earlier. Journey Newson was supposed to fight Brian Kelleher as the dog. Pricing comes out early in the week. DraftKings does not change it when we get the new fighter. So, Newson now about a minus 190 favorite at 7,300, taking on Marcus McGee, making his UFC debut, 7,200. What you got in this one?
So, I mean, I don't have ownership for this one, so I just penciled in 45% for Newson and 14% for McGee. I don't know. 14% might be high. I got no idea.
I put 45 and 16 in the playbook.
Okay.
So we're right there.
So, I mean, it just seems like a no-brainer. We had a similar fight to this like 2 months ago, and I think it was like an 8K fighter, but it was like an 80% favorite, and he was like 8,800, something like that. And I think in this scenario, you just plug in Newson.
Yeah, that was when Kevin Holland and Chimaev and all of that stuff went down. That card, I think you're the one you were talking about.
Yeah, so I don't know. Just this one, to me, I wouldn't overthink it. MME, I don't know, man. You probably have a better pulse on it than me because, again, it doesn't matter on the ownership, but like he still has a 40% chance of winning. I got no idea on the technical side, but as far as like just breaking it down from what are the odds? What are the odds that you're going to finish inside the distance? It's pretty decent. I penciled in 40% for Newson. I have no idea because they didn't have that in, but it looks like around 25% in round one. So I think 40, 50% is probably likely. So yeah, I think Newson's just the play. And if he comes in at 50% own, that's probably fair.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take a different approach on this one. Part of the reason probably there's only 11 fights on this card. Ownership is going to be very concentrated. It's very hard to get different. The chalk, I mean, so I need to get different somewhere. I'm not going to fade the main event. I think it's a very, very good fight. There's guys up top like Kyle Bahayo, Rodolfo Vieira, Stephanie Egger. Yeah, they could definitely all lose too if like all three of them lost or somehow. They all have a bunch of upside. Like I'm not just going to full fade any of them. Come to this fight, Journey Newson and Marcus McGee. Now, Journey Newson, I just don't think is very good anyway. He throws very little volume on the feet, throws a little over 2 significant strikes per minute. Not known as a wrestler. He did mix in takedowns against Fernie Garcia. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to mix in takedowns here. But if he doesn't and stays on the feet for 15 minutes, the dude throws a little over 2 significant strikes per minute. You get a second round knockout. Again, granted, 7,300. He probably scores 85 or something. You take that every day of the week. Third round knockout, you could be looking at 75, something like that. He could get a decision win and score 60 or something. I think other people down in the lower range outscore 60. When you're talking about 45% or something like that for Journey Newson, this Marcus McGee guy, yes, he's taking the fight on 3 days' notice. That is definitely scary. trains with like Kyler Phillips, Sean O'Malley. The dude's been around. I mean, not in the UFC, but he's around good fighters. He's putting in the work. He is the oldest 32-year-old you'll probably ever see in your life. He looks like 45. But yeah, somehow they say he's 32. If that's true, who knows? But he's a much bigger fighter in this one. 3-inch height advantage. Throws more volume. Looks like a primary striker too. He switches stances on the feet. He's got some power in his hands. Pressure fighter. Like, I think he can win this fight. I'm picking the dog. I'm not even picking Journey Newsom. I don't even think he's that good. Then you get into the ownership and the leverage and all that. An 11 fight slate, when it's very hard to get different, it's pretty clearly who's the chalk on the slate. Probably the minus 190 guy that's 7,300.
Exactly.
How do you get the most leverage on the slate? Well, you're only taking a plus 160 dog, plus 150 in some other spots. It's not even like a big dog. And if he wins, 45% of the field's done. 15%, and there's fights or some of this. I'll have nothing of this fight. Like if Journey wins a decision or the other guy wins a decision, people are probably like, you're fading a 7,200, 7,300 guaranteed winner. Now, in MMA, we saw what happened with Bobby Green. Well, I don't know if it was last week.
Guarantees.
There's no guarantee anything. You get 9 and 5 for a fight, DQ, whatever it may be. But a 60 whatever in a decision win. I mean, Newsom doesn't throw much volume, so if it goes to decision, this fight easily could not be optimal. It's going to get a ton of ownership. Yeah, I'm going to play the game theory ways, and I'm picking Marcus McGee in this one. So compared to the field, I'll have much more McGee than I will Journey Newsom. I'll definitely be underweight on him. We could keep it rolling, though, unless you got something else.
No, it's just, like I said, I think ownership is going to play a huge role, and as we get closer, we'll have a better idea. But, like, as you go to this next fight, the next person's $2,000 more and a 10% higher implied odds to finish or to win. So again, the ownership's going to go to Newsom, and I like the idea. You can go to the next fight.
Stephanie Egger, Irina Alekseeva, 9,400 Egger, 6,800 Irina. Egger, one of the biggest favorites on the card. She's going to get some ownership. She's going to be pretty chalky, but there's other fighters in the upper tier that will too. I mean, what are you seeing in this one?
Yeah, I like Stephanie Egger quite a bit as far as a spend up. I got her at 30% owned, which is definitely a leverage spot when considering she's got about a 43% chance of finishing inside the distance, around 30% inside round one. So I like her quite a bit. Don't really have much interest in Alekseeva. The projections love Egger, so she's not going to be low owned. There's no doubt about that. Optimals are going to jam her in, but I don't know. At 9,400, she's got to be the second highest, right?
Best. Yep, 9,500 is the highest on this card.
Right. So yeah, I think I try to look for ways to spend some salary, regardless of the slate. So I think Egger's the girl that I want to spend up for, and she's got pretty good leverage. I mean, all things considered, 30% expected ownership and 72% implied odds to win, 45% we'll call it inside the distance. I think there's potential for a big score. You can break it down technically, but I like her at the price and I like her at the ownership. Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you in this one. Irina making her UFC debut. I don't even know how she's in the UFC. She's 4-1, and 3 of those wins were against absolute bums. She did fight in Bellator. Didn't look very impressive. Like, I don't think this girl is going to be in the UFC for long. Not a striker, does her best work on the ground, but it's not a good matchup when you do your best work on the ground against Stephanie Egger, who judo is absolutely awesome. Awesome judo tosses. When she's on the mat, her grappling solid. Wrestling's okay. She's 8-3, finished 7 of her 8 wins by finish. Most of those are by submission. Irina missed weight by 4 pounds. She was one of the big misses on this card, so I hope that this fight continues. But yeah, it's Stephanie Egger all day for me. I'll have no Irina. Easy fade there. As far as Stephanie Egger, she doesn't throw. If it's on the feet, it's going to be gross. Neither of these girls are strikers. I think Stephanie can easily get it on the mat, though. Yeah. And when she does, I think she can finish this fight. So, yeah, I definitely have plenty of Stephanie. I got her at 35%. Which is still fine. Yeah. I got her at 30, but 35 is still good. Yeah. So you got about 11 points on a ceiling. Yeah. I mean, it's still good. Definitely. So, yeah, I'll have a lot of Stephanie Egger. I think she gets it done by submission. No Irina for me. And it sounds like you are on the same page. So let's keep it rolling. Fun fight. Charles Johnson, Cody Durden, 8,700, 7,500. This fight is supposed to go to decision. What you got in this one? Yeah, I'm curious what you're going to say because you just called it a fun fight. I got nothing on this fight. I do not like it. 8,700, Charles Johnson, no thanks. Cody Durden still going to get 30% ownership, no thank you. Yeah, projections love Charles Johnson, so if I was going to fade anybody, it would be this fight. But you said it was going to be a fun one, so I'm curious your take.
Yeah, Cody Durden likes talking smack. Charles Johnson's a knockoff version of Bobby Green. More so excited to watch in real life, but it's a clash of styles. Charles Johnson wants it on the feet. Cody Durden's a wrestler. So anytime you get that, it makes for an interesting fight. Charles Johnson, yeah, I'm not going to have much of him. He just fought like last month against Ode Osborne. He's been taken down every single one of his fights. Takedown defense sitting at 60%. It's not bad by any means. He has an okay get up game, but he obviously can be taken down. And Cody Durden averages 4.17 takedowns per 15 minutes, has a wrestling in background. He's a wrestler. He's going to go out there, try and wrestle for 15 minutes. The big thing in this fight, though, is cardio. Charles Johnson is a former track and athlete. I forget exactly where it was, but regardless, he's known for having good cardio. I say he's known for that because last fight against Ode Osborne, he did take the fight on pretty short notice, but he was gassed in the third round too. Like his cardio wasn't there when he easily could have won that fight and took over. So I hope his cardio is there. It usually is there. Who knows though? Is Cody Durden? He slows down as the fight goes because he just wrestles. If I knew his cardio comes in and he has 15 minutes of cardio, it's Cody Durden all day in this one. I do think he has some success with the takedowns. Charles Johnson can be controlled on the mat for a little bit. On the feet, it's Charles Johnson all day. On the mat, it's Cody Durden all day. 8,700 for a volume striker that's going to be defending takedowns almost the whole fight. I don't think he finishes. I don't like Charles Johnson. I do think he'll be one of the lowest owned fighters in the upper tier. So I leave him in my pool just because on 11-fight card, it's hard to get different in certain spots. If you want to get different with Charles Johnson, I don't mind it that way. But I got Cody Durden to win this fight. I'm picking the dog. I think he does have success with the wrestling, can bank the first 2 rounds. Hopefully his cardio, it doesn't fall off a cliff like it has in the past. But, man, I think he has success with the wrestling, can bank these first 2 rounds, and I like him in DFS. You said 30%? Yeah, if you tell me 30%, I don't really like him. I got him about 22, 23%, maybe somewhere right in the middle. But
I'm rounding up. 28 is what I got him at, but we'll call it 30. But, yeah, again, it makes such a big difference. It makes such a big difference. 20% versus 30% is a huge difference in what you want to do for exposure. It changes your mindset from like, hey, I want to be over to like, oh, I could just match the field, and even that feels a little bit weak. So it just especially on a small card, man, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, but for me, like even at 30, like I think Cody Durden wins this fight. It's like when you do all your research and all that, it's easier to be at least, he's over-owned maybe. But like Rob Font, if I knew a couple weeks ago, Rob Font was 30% when I had him at like 21%, I still would have played Rob Font. But if you look at how he grades out leverage-wise, like he would have been a way worse play because he came in at 30%, which no one expected. But yeah, I think about 24, something like that for Durden. Regardless, I think he wins this fight. I think he has a lot of upside with his wrestling. So yeah, give me Cody Durden in this one.
I like it. Yeah, that's fine.
Let's keep it rolling. Jake Collier going to the big boys. Jake Collier, Martin Buday. Yeah, this is as greasy, sloppy as it gets. It's a coin flip fight. It is coin flip pretty much to go to decision to finish as well. Buday is slight favorite at most spots, slightly favored to finish in most spots. Can't get closer. 8,200 AK. What do you got?
Yeah, first question I was going to ask you is what you got their ownership at, because Sabres got them both right at 30, and if that's the case, then obviously Buday is going to be the guy you would want to have a little bit more exposure to.
22, 26 Collier to Buday right now, but it's tough with these fights. Like last week, Jeremiah Wells was 8,400. Semmelsberger was 7,800. Semmelsberger was like minus 120. He got some steam in that way. Wells was 36%. Semmelsberger was 26%. So the slight dog for 600 more was 10% higher owned. So I don't know what ownership.
How does that work out?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, so they both project out really similarly. If you want to just take it to Vegas, obviously there's a big difference with Buday's inside the distance number. He's also the favorite. He's also $200 cheaper. So like common sense would point me in that direction. They both are kind of relatively close in terms of like leverage. Like I have them at 23% for Collier and 33% for Buday. And that could be completely off. But like if that's the case, they're both basically like even. Like I would want to match the field and not go over the field on either one. So there's neither one stands out as a leverage spot. It would just be, I think, I don't know. I think I would want some exposure to the fight, but I don't want to be like over aggressive on one guy over the other. And it really just shakes out the ownership. I hate saying that, but again, like for example, I have Collier here at 16% ownership, and Sabersim has him at 30%. So like, there's a disconnect somewhere. So
which is literally all MMA. That's why there's an edge. I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, I say that I think I have a good grasp, and I look at what I have for someone, and then when the ownership actually comes out, I'm like, wow, was I way off on this? But it's one of the least. It's not good across the end, and people don't know MMA ownership.
Well, I try to think through it in my head. Like, in this case, like Boudet should be higher owned, but like you said, was it last week or the week before?
Last week,
it gets reversed and it doesn't make any sense. So then you kind of look at projections and see if like someone's getting projected incorrectly. So like, there's a lot that, like you said, there's an edge. Like if you take the time to go look into it, you could say like if Collier was projected for like 7 points higher, like okay, I know that people are going to run optimals and not get Boudet, and the ownership's going to be incorrect. So again, just trying to tell ownership, it matters so much in the 1v1 sports. I love it, but it makes a big difference with kind of this fight or this card being a little bit screwy up to this point. So if you want to break it down technically, my stance is basically match the field on this fight, on the ownerships of this fight. I think both are probably in a good spot. You're going to have to be around this price anyway. So I think it's a decent fight to finish for Boudet, and Collier is really not that much worse.
Yeah, I put in the playbook as well. I'll be matching the field somewhere around both these guys because I don't want, there's certain fights, I don't want this fight to beat me in any way or ruin. I don't want this fight ruining my night, whatever happens in it. Decision, DQ, 180 points. Like this fight, it's gross. The low level heavyweight. Jay Collier used to fight at 185 at middleweight. Dude had all the cheeseburgers in the world. Now tips the scales at 265. Not a great 265. Martin Boudet, definitely the bigger fighter. He could not have made 185 if he tried, if his life depended on it. So the natural bigger fighter is Boudet in this one. And I say all that stuff because Collier fights like you could have seen that he used to be a middleweight. He uses his speed, and no, he's not fast by any means, but for the heavyweight division, he's pretty fast. He throws a lot of volume, 5.75 significant strikes per minute, throws a solid leg kick. Like he moves a lot better than these other heavyweights. And usually has the cardio. Usually, again, he showed last fight he did not have the cardio to go 15 minutes and throw a good amount of volume, whereas Boudet is just a big ogre who's going to try and push you against the fence, grab you in the clinch, just wear on you. He's way bigger than you. He hasn't had any takedowns in the UFC thus far. Prior to the UFC, he did mix in a couple. And if he does, like this would be a great fight to do it. If he got Collier on his back, Boudet is so heavy. Collier is not getting up. He is there the whole round, can land damage and stuff. I'll have a little more Boudet, I plan at least, than Collier, because I think he has more upside. I don't think Collier finishes Boudet. He does throw good volume. I don't know if this is the fight that's gonna happen though, because I'm not sure if it's gonna play out at range. Like I think Boudet is gonna try and pressure, get against the fence, use his clinch. An important note for DraftKings: you do get control time even if they are standing against the fence in the clinch, which is very important in this one because, man, I mean, this could be like one of the most boring fights you see. Collier can't get his back off the fence. The refs let him work. He throws a couple knees. You're getting every single minute at least, which is important. If Boudet gets it to the ground, he has some upside there. But man, if I had to pick, if I only had one lineup, I would probably fade this fight. I could see it going a lot more boring, more past that way than I do to a big score. But it's low-level heavyweights. There's so much guesswork in it. But I'm going to pick Boudet. I'm going to have a little more Boudet just because I think if he does peel him to the mat, he has a lot more upside than Collier, who just needs it on the feet. And I don't think he gets the same volume he's thrown in the past. So, yeah, I'll go to Boudet, but I'll be somewhere around the field like you. This fight's not going to beat me anyway. If I end up underweight, sure. Let's keep it rolling.
There's a lot of decisions to be made around that mid-price. Like you talk about Boudet, if you're going to have, 8K favorite over an 8,200, like, okay, it may come down to that 200, like $100. Like I don't have an extra 100 to get up. I go down 100 and I got a favorite versus like, there's plenty of people are going to click Newsom, and we're going to get to Song here in just a minute, but like, there's plenty of, good dogs, I guess, or like underpriced people, I should say, not dogs, but I mean, in a single lineup, that's a good point. It probably isn't a terrible fight to fade because like Horth, I think, is decent. And if you go down, there's plenty of people to pay down for that probably have higher ceilings potentially. So, yeah, we can keep it moving.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. 11 fight card. A lot of game theory comes into this one, no doubt
Absolutely.
about it. Next fight, Josh Quinlan, Trey Waters, 8,500 Quinlan, 7,700 Waters. Another fight that had a little changing throughout the week. Josh Quinlan was supposed to fight Ange Lusa. Lusa out, in steps Trey Waters. Trey Waters just fought 2 weeks ago on LFA. He did get a second round knockout, but he was hurt in that first round. He got wobbled. So yeah, second round knockout 2 weeks ago, and this dude is monstrous for the division. He did make weight. Props to him. He has a 5-inch height advantage in this one. Good amount of red flags for me. I just want to bring that stuff up before you dive into the numbers. There's a lot more context to this fight than you usually have. So what do you see? 8,500 Quinlan, 7,700 Waters.
You spun it positively and negatively. He's got a 5-inch advantage, but he's also hurt and had a fight 2 weeks ago. So that's
well, I didn't say he's hurt, but he did get hurt in that fight. He did get hurt in the first round, and then he recovered. I'll just the last thing I'll mention with him is the dude fights kind of like Bobby Green in the fact of the dude's hands are at his hips pretty much. Low hands. Know that. Like I didn't want to not say it, and you go and you're watching the fight Saturday and you turn on like, what is this dude doing? That is how he fights. His hands are down. That's just what he does. Go for it though.
All right, so this one seems pretty clear cut to me. So Quinlan and Waters, I got both coming in at around 30 to 35%. Again, that could certainly change with the fight changing and Waters being a pretty big dog. But Quinlan has a pretty big advantage in my opinion. Like just from a methodology of using ownership versus like the inside the distance, which I have right around 52%, which is weird. So that's through DK Sportsbook. So the implied odds for inside the distance is 52%. I also pulled the money line odds and it's right around 60%. So like he's almost has an equal chance of finishing inside the distance of winning. So you don't see that very often.
It's minus 350 to finish. It is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So minus 350 to finish.
It depends what books. I see minus 450 at places. I've seen minus 350 at places. Do you have a completely different number?
Yeah, I have. I have minus 110.
Minus 110.
Knockout, submission, or DQ. So maybe that's different.
Oh, you're saying just for Quinlan? You're saying just for Quinlan minus?
Just for Quinlan, not the fight.
Yeah, I meant this fight. I meant this fight in general inside the distance. Yeah.
So I got 52% for Quinlan and 33% for Water. So yeah, the overall fight is high for a finish.
Yeah.
Considering if they're both going to be equally owned or pretty close to equally owned, I have Quinlan.
I'll stop you there. I think Quinlan will be 40. I think it'll be like double. Quinlan will be almost double the ownership. 40-20, something like that. 44-22.
Yeah, so I can plug that in and we can see what that shows.
Well, so I don't want to just correct your owner, but Quinlan will be one of the higher owned fighters on the card.
But it does make a difference. Like I said, the ownerships are not updated for some sites that have been since like Thursday or Wednesday even. So just me bumping it to 40% and then Waters to 20%, it brings them a lot closer. Like it's not a huge disparity. So I would have exposure to both. And again, I think like you said, like the odds of this fight finishing sounds pretty good. I don't know if it's because of Quinlan or because Waters and what the books think from a fight 2 weeks ago, but it sounds like people are going to get gassed or the fight's just going to be fast and heavy. And I think this would be a fight you would want exposure to. So yeah, from an ownership perspective, I would have a little bit higher ownership on Quinlan relative to the field, and Waters would probably be equal to the field. So that's basically what I see.
Yeah, I like this fight. It's hard not to. Minus 350 to finish. If you're saying like 42% Quinlan, 20% Waters, which is I'm kind of thinking too, though, makes me kind of want to go Trey Waters, but I think Quinlan wins the fight. These are two primary strikers. Quinlan has a bunch of power. Trey Waters, the much bigger fighter, like I said, a 5-inch height advantage. He does his best work at distance. He fought on Contender Series too. He did lose on the Contender Series, so Dana wanted to see another fight for him. He fought one of the Bonfim brothers though, so there's no shame in that loss. Bonfim brothers are crazy, but went to the LFA. His last fight since Contender Series was that 2 weeks ago. They get hurt in the first round, got the second round finish. Yeah, it's a lot of red flags. Like he had to do all this weight cutting. He's huge for the division. He had to cut again. Props to him for making it. Did get hurt in that last fight. Quinlan hits like an absolute truck, which is, why I lean Quinlan, all that. But with ownership and all of that, Trey Waters is definitely live. Minus 350 to finish. Yeah. Plus 240. He has power. He can knock out Quinlan. If the fight does hit the mat, I think it's Quinlan doing it. He's fine on top. He has 2 submissions on his record. I think it mainly stays on the feet, but Quinlan, I would give the advantage on there. Quinlan has a bunch of power. He can land once and put you out. Waters has a lot of power too. I wouldn't say the same as Quinlan though. A fight that's minus 350 to finish between two strikers that have power that can drop at any time. Definitely get both sides of it. I'm picking Quinlan, but if you ask me, like, will I have compared to the field, will I be more owned? Will I be overexposed on Waters, or would I in Quinlan? I don't know. 44% Quinlan, 22 on Waters, or whatever it may be. I might be close on both. I'm not going to have like 75% Quinlan by any means.
I would be under on Quinlan if it was 44%. I'm just trying to look through what I got, and I would be under. I would be under on Quinlan, and I would be probably right at Waters. Like, I'd be slightly under on Waters, but it would be right at 22% probably. I would just round it up. But yeah, I think Quinlan would be under-owned on that relative to the field at 44%.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a good fight to target though. But like a second. It can go a lot, like minus 350. If I have to bet anything, like this fight to go to decision, you get a pretty big plus number. They're going to stay on the feet the whole time. Maybe they're a little more cautious. They feel each other's power and they want it. Like, I was surprised to see this fight this favored to finish inside the distance. It's a big number for a pretty competitive fight. It's like for a pretty competitive fight. So,
I mean, the next fight's pretty big too. So I'm curious your take on this next fight. But so it sounds like you're at least interested in the fight. This isn't a fade fight, and it's basically just kind of figuring out what your exposures you want to match to the field.
I'll be somewhere, yes. I'll let Saber. This is one of the fights. I'll let Saber pretty much, if it's somewhat close to the ownership of the field, I'll be fine. If I have 30% Quinlan, sure. If I have 52% Quinlan, sure. I do think Quinlan does win this fight, though. But Trey Waters definitely live. I think about half the ownership. Yeah, you talked about this next fight, right in that same price range, 8,600, 7,600. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, Waldo Cortez Acosta, heavyweight division. These two tip the scales. Man, it's an interesting one. What do you got in this one?
Yeah, I gotta love the Rogerio de Lima side. 46% inside the distance, 28% for Waldo inside the distance. That's not too much the point, but the value on 8,600 for those numbers is kind of where you want to target. So again, a small card. I have them around 35%. Again, we'll see where that shakes out. But I love that. I love that ownership. I love the fight, the numbers behind it. And I have him at a pretty big leverage spot. Let me just unfilter this really quick. He's probably like, we'll call him the third highest leverage spot on the card at 8,600 that I would want to target. So I like Marcos quite a bit.
Yeah, I like Marcos Rogerio de Lima as well. I think he wins this fight. It's heavyweights. Rogerio de Lima is 37 years old, which I usually don't love. Waldo Cortez Acosta used to be a baseball player. He's 9-0. He's 2-0 in the UFC, so he still has not lost. But the dude fought Chase Sherman and Jared Vanderas. So I don't know how much stock you can put into both of those wins. I don't think Acosta's very good. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, he definitely has some red flags about him. Mainly that his cardio. After the first round, he can fall off a cliff. Most of his wins have come in the first round. He did go against Blagoy Ivanov a couple fights ago, I believe, though. He did take that fight to decision, which was impressive to see 15 minutes of cardio there. But, man, Rogerio de Lima, monster power. Just go back and watch a Ben Rothwell fight. Ben Rothwell wasn't knocked out for like over a decade. Rogerio de Lima walks through him in 32 seconds. The dude has so much power in his hands. His leg kicks, absolutely nasty. I think he'd go to the well with these leg kicks early, limit the movement, knock him out on the feet. He has the power to do that. Now, I think you can also take down Acosta. And I think that'd be his easiest path to victory because when de Lima's on top of you, he is very, very heavy and it is hard to get off you. Acosta, he's a boxer. Again, baseball. Like the dude, I think, is lost off of his back. We haven't really been able to see it. I think I think we can see it this week or this fight. De Lima, he mixes in some takedowns, not every fight. I think he can win this fight on the feet, knock him out. I think you take it to the mat, give him all the problems in the world. I'm definitely on Rogerio de Lima here. So 2 for 2. You do love to see that.
Yeah.
Let's keep it roll. You got something else on that one?
No, keep it going.
I like it. Yeah, we're both on the same page there. But you cut me off anytime if I say we're going to the next one. You got something else?
No, I love it. I like hearing some backup. That's always good. Yeah.
Yep.
The font one a couple weeks ago will always be in my mind. So I'm all ears when you want to say the dog's gonna win. I'm gonna take it. So I'm glad.
It doesn't always work. I will say I had another I don't know, 2 weeks ago I think the Billy Q fight. Edson Barbosa, that was another one where the dog did come through for us. The dogs have been hot lately, but it's not always like that. It can be a brutal game we play, but we'll keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Julian Erosa, Fernando Padilla, 8,800. Erosa, 7,400. Fernando. Fun fight. Fernando's making his UFC debut. Erosa's Juicy J. Anytime you see his name, this is a really fun fight that I'm looking forward to. Real life, I think DFS wise too. Julian Erosa fights are fun. Pressure and the chin can be questionable. What do you got in this one?
Yeah, so obviously from an odds standpoint, Arosa is still a pretty decent favorite at 8,800. I mean, not huge. There's still, you could literally round it down to like a 55%, 45%. Ownership wise, you got it right around 26 to 30%, 25 to 30%, we'll call it. I think Arosa I'll have exposure to, but I do like Padilla at 7,400. The one thing that sticks out to me, so inside the distance, Arosa is at 41% inside the distance, and Padilla is around 30%. But what stands out to me is the KO projection for a round one knockout for Padilla is at like 15%. So when you consider that from an inside the distance, if they're both going to stand on their feet or start standing on their feet, if the KO is going to happen, it's going to happen faster than getting on the ground. Obviously, Arosa sounds like a pretty good fighter on the ground, but I like Padilla in this fight as well. At 7,400, shouldn't be super high owned, at least like around 30% at the most is my guess. And I think I'll have exposure to both sides, but I did want to mention Padilla at 7,400 looks like it could be like a sneaky finish in round one or round two via KO that I want to have exposure to.
Yeah, he's definitely live for a KO at any point. And like I mentioned earlier, anyone against Julian Erosa. Julian Erosa's chin, he's coming off another knockout against Alex Caceres. He's been knocked out plenty in his career. I want to say 5 knockout losses.
Yeah,
I'll have to look a little more into that. It might be 4, might be 5. I can't find exactly in this. I'll have to look it up. But he's been knocked out plenty of times. Six knockout losses of his 10. 6 have come by KO. And it's crazy, though, because some fights, like the Steven Peterson fight, one of the best fights you'll ever see, the dude had a granite chin, that he could take every punch. Some fights, the dude cannot take any punch. He gets knocked out right away. Feels like he has to like get into the fight, build into the fight. But like you said, first round KO, when he hasn't felt multiple punches and starting to get warmed up to the fight, he definitely could get put away. He's a pressure fighter, though. I mean, his striking defense isn't good because he'll walk forward. He'll throw a lot of volume himself. And he can mix it into the mat, like you said. He can mix in takedowns. I think he should mix in takedowns in this fight. I think he probably will. Land 1.69 takedowns per 15 minutes. Has some solid grappling as well. But yeah, this Padilla guy making his UFC debut, 14-4, only 26 years old, hasn't fought in about 2 years. So who knows what we get with this guy. This tape, he looks solid. His striking looks solid. He has more wins by submission. But I think he's going to want to keep it on the feet in this one. I think Erosa would be the guy that has the advantage on the mat. At range, though, Padilla definitely has power. He's got volume. Erosa's got some power. He's got volume, though. Erosa will make it a dogfight. You clip his chin, yeah, Padilla can definitely be first round knockout on the optimal, which is why I like him. And Juicy J, Julian Erosa. I'm picking Erosa. Give me the guy that's fought the way better competition. Dude that's been in the UFC for a long time. He's fought a bunch of adversity. Dude's 28-10. Like, he's fought best of the best guys against someone making their UFC debut, only a 26-year-old. Huge step up in competition for him. I got to go with Julian Erosa in this fight. I think there's a lot of upside. And, man, Erosa, with his volume, I think he can mix in takedowns. Maybe Padilla gets up. He dumps him back down. Maybe he breaks them. Juicy J's got good cardio. A lot of points can be had in this fight, but I like Julian Erosa in this one.
Perfect. Yeah. Sounds good.
Like it. Let's go. Next one. Yeah, very, very fun fight. Good fight to target in DFS. The black belt hunter, Rodolfo Vieira, one of the best Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners in the world, not even in the sport, taking on Cody Brundage, primary wrestler, 9,100, 7,100. What do you got in this one?
Yeah, Rodolfo Vieira at 67% implied odds to win, 32% for Brundage. 60% inside the distance, so pretty high. Forget who one of the first fights we talked about was like 9,400, but the 9,100 here, that's going to be a staple. Who was it?
Stephanie Egger was the 9,400. Vieira definitely going to get more.
She's still fine, but like 9,100, man. Give me some of this. This fight, I got it around 37% for Vieira and 18% for Brundage. So this sounds like it's probably at least closest from a projection standpoint for ownership. I don't hate the Brundage side just from an ownership standpoint. If he's only going to be like 15%, 16%, I'll have a little bit. But I think Vieira is just going to be the target at 9,100. Take a strong favorite, a strong inside the distance. He's got like a 34% chance of winning via submission in round one. I like that. That's probably higher than most of the other fights inside the distance numbers. So I like Vieira quite a bit. I'll have some exposure to Brundage. He still has a 25% inside the distance number. I don't know what avenue that's going to come from. Round one doesn't look promising, but I guess maybe cardio. If round one and round two leads into round three, maybe Brundage can just kind of hang in there and maybe get a knockout or something. It sounds like that's probably the way Vegas would see that going. But Vieira at 9,100 seems like a staple. So I'll let you break it down a little bit further. But yeah, Vieira's, I think, number two on my sheet for the overall leverage for the week.
What if I told you he's 46% owned? How does that leverage go to?
46% owned. Doesn't move it. Doesn't move it.
Yeah. I think he'll be one of the, if not the chalkiest fighters on the card, rightfully so. Big favorite, inside the distance line, 9,100. But yeah, I'll go. I'll take the dog shot. I'll go Cody Brundage and be the contrarian in this one. I'm gonna definitely be playing Vieira, but like you said, you piece it together by looking at numbers and all that. Brundage's path to victory. Rodolfo Vieira has one round of cardio most fights. He comes out, he needs to get the fight to the mat. His striking's no good. If he does get his offensive takedowns aren't great either. He's fine being taken down, working out. He just needs the fight on the mat. And like I said, he's not just one of the best grapplers in the UFC, in the whole world. Probably the best grappler. If it's not Jacare, him, Muniz. I mean, one of the best, if not the best grapplers to ever step inside the UFC. This dude is as nasty as it gets on the ground. But this fight could go definitely. I see this fight just like the Fluffy Hernandez fight, Anthony Hernandez fight, couple weeks ago or a couple fights ago for Vieira, where Vieira comes out, he gets on the mat, he's styling on Hernandez in round one, almost subs him multiple times. Then like 20, 30 seconds left in the first round, Vieira is just absolutely gassed, has nothing left, can hardly make it to the stool, sit and duck. Round two, Hernandez wins. Cody Brundage, how he fights, he's just like Hernandez. He's a pressure fighter. He cannot, like if Vieira fought Dustin Stoltzfus fights at a slow pace. Vieira fights at a slow pace. He got a third round submission because he wasn't as tired. That's not the fight this is going to be. High pace, a lot of action going on. Vieira cannot last 15 minutes in this fight. I'm not sure he can last over 5 minutes in this fight. Very, very live for a first round KO. He's taking on a primary wrestler who, if he's smart, Cody Brundage, isn't going to try and wrestle in this fight. I don't care if you're on top or whatever it may be. Vieira is probably going to submit you. Brundage's hands have been getting better, knocked out Trayshawn Gore, but I think he has a striking advantage in this fight. Just use your pressure. Keep it on the feet. Do not mix in your own offensive takedowns. And I think he's live. I mean, it's a wide number for a guy with zero cardio and one path to victory. I've learned my lesson the hard way on Vieira, and when you're telling me he's one of the highest owned fighters on the card, like I said, I'm not going to fade by any means. I'll probably be underweight, though, 45% if he is. I might have 35 or something, and Brundage will be one of the lower-owned fighters on the card. He has as much upside as anyone, because if he does gas, Vieira, that is, in round one, he has 10 minutes that he'll eventually find a finish, I think, and get a bunch of points all the way up until that. And you have leverage off of one of the chalkiest fighters on the card. So, yeah I'm going to take the dog shot on Brundage. I like the live bet more after round one probably, but books are sharp about it.
Yeah, so I stand corrected. So at 46%, he's still one of the top 5 guys on the slate for me. But his win odds, like if he doesn't win inside the distance, he's not important to an optimal lineup. So
I don't even think I'd worry about that part. That's why, I do like Vieira because it's round one, maybe round two, but we just have not seen. I can't put any faith in the cardio that he can win a decision.
Yeah, you're basically playing him at that ownership for a round one knockout. That's basically, outside of that, you're not getting any leverage over anyone above him or like Arosa or Rogerio de Lima. So yeah, again, the ownership makes a big difference. Just that change in 10% changes him from the best play above 9K to the worst play of Rogeria, Arosa, Egger, and Barallo. So we can move on, but I just wanted to clarify. It does make a big difference that just a 10% move makes a huge.
Even
difference.
If you told me he's 45, there's no way I'm fading him though, because if it gets on the mat, the dude is one kill jiu-jitsu. I don't over-own, under-own. He'll put up 120 in your mouth, and he'll be whatever he needs to be optimal. So he's that kind of guy. I'm going against him, but yeah, your butt will be clenched the whole first round. That is for sure. We'll keep it rolling though. Kyle Bahayo, Michael Olajaychek, highest price fighter, biggest favorite on the card, and Kyle Bahayo taking on Olajaychek. It's a clash of styles. Bahayo wants to fight on the mat. Olajaychek needs to fight on the feet. Pretty easy set. I mean, it doesn't get any more black and white than that. What do you see in this fight, though?
Yeah, Bahayo 9,500, 75% implied chance of winning versus Alexa at 25%, and we got a 57% inside the distance for Baralo. He's around 30%, just under 30% for a submission in round one. And again, you could throw me a different ownership number. I got him at 32%. He's going to be a little bit higher than that, which is call it 40, which I don't know if he gets to. He's still going to be one of the top 3 on my card. So I like Baralo quite a bit. Again, he's probably a priority spend up. There's enough value. To be honest, there's plenty of value to get to. Baralo, there's really nothing. I see zero leverage playing electric. Oh, God, I'll just call him Michael. I'm going to call him Michael. Forgive me. I'm going to call him Michael.
No, you're good.
There's no leverage of playing Michael. At 6,700, 25% chance of winning, just money line, and he's at a 22%. I got him at ownership, which seems way too high. So maybe that comes down a bit. I'll have zero. Like I don't see any leverage potential for Michael. And Baralo is basically get him when you can. Try to pay up for him, and he's in a smash spot, it seems.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, Olajaychek, he needs the knockout. He needs to keep it on feet. More than likely, the thing is, he could get a second round. Let's just say a third round knockout in this fight, and he could score 60 points. Because Kyle, if he doesn't get in one round or round two, that means he's going to be on his back the whole round. Because Kyle, he only averaged a little over 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. But why he only averages that is because once he does get a takedown in a round, the dude does not get back up. He's a wet blanket. Very, very good wrestling, very good grappling. And he's just a very smart fighter. A lot of people say boring, and yeah, it's not the most fan pleasing. Like he's not Julian Erosa. He hasn't been knocked out 6 times. He's not taking that risk. He'll play it smart. He'll leave with no cuts, no blood. Get him to the mat from full guard to half guard to mount. He'll just transition fluently down there. And Michael Olajaychek just doesn't have a ground game. Poor takedown defense. It feels too easy. It really does. Like, and those fights are sometimes scary, but there's no way I'm going to go against how it's feeling. I think Kyle gets takedowns. All 3 of his UFC wins have come by decision. Like I said, he's fine going to decision. I think he picks up his first finish win. I think he can submit Olajaychek. Like I said, there's levels to this when he hits the mat. I think he gets it to the mat easily. No, not good takedown defense for Olajaychek. Kyle's too smart. When he gets it down there, he can't be a decision fighter your whole career. I think he wants to try and make a statement, go hunt for a finish in this one. I think he gets it. So, yeah, it's Kyle for me all day right there with you.
Yep, perfect.
Main event, fun one. Best fight on the card, no doubt. And, I mean, you could put this fight any day of the week, one of the best fights on any card. 2 of the best in the world, bantamweights. Ricky Simone, Song Yadong, 8,400 Simone, 7,800 Song Yadong. So we were supposed to get this fight last week, and it was supposed to only be 3 rounds. Now we get it this week, and it's 5 rounds. And Ricky Simone was a bigger favorite last week with only 3 rounds. It's pretty close now, pretty close to a coin flip at some books. And I agree with that line movement from last week to this week. Ricky Simone has never fought a 5-round fight. He's never been in a 4th round, never been in a 5th round. Song Yadong has twice, including his last fight that went to the 4th round against Corey Sandhagen. Ricky Simone has good cardio. There's no doubt about that. Primary wrestler, very good cardio. But, I mean, it's a whole different beast. How he fights and the pace he pushes in those 3-round fights, he can't do that, I don't think, for 25 minutes. I don't think he's Marab. I think he might have to pace himself a little more, but we just haven't seen it from him yet. So I think that's a little bit has to do with the line movement. But, man, 2 absolute studs. You can't drop a better fight. I put in the playbook, these guys fight 10 times. Someone wins 5, maybe someone wins 6, and someone wins 4. Like, that's how I look at both these guys. It's tough for me for sure to just make a pick, but what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like both of them pretty equally. I mean, you get an advantage off a Song being a little bit cheaper, a little bit better. I got burned by this a couple weeks ago, but I mean, for what it's worth, it's a 5-round fight, and he has a decent inside the distance number. Doesn't matter. I forget who it was a couple weeks ago, but like did not pan out very well. It was Izzy. Izzy had
Izzy, yeah.
Yeah, Izzy ended up knocking him out, and Pereira had the inside the distance number advantage, and he was cheaper. So this kind of gives me like a little hyperventilation because I'm remembering back to that fight.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Song is a great value. Obviously, if I was building an optimal lineup, Song at 7,800 probably fits a majority of those. His money line odds are a little bit worse than Simon, but again, he looks like he can come out hot in round 1, round 2, round 3. Potentially finish, which is really odd from what we've seen, or at least from what I've seen like the last couple months for 5-rounders. So I think the one thing to note is obviously this fight's going to get a lot of ownership. I got it 40-45% between the two. The projections are all over the place. Like I just refreshed SaberSim, and he's got Song, or they have Song at 62 points, and that's about 20 points less than Simon. So like you just kind of be cautious of like running optimals, because like you could get your exposures right, and then you never get any Song or very little Song, and you want to have like even odds, right? You want to have 40% of both because you think it's going to be a close fight. Like you said, they fight 10 times, it's going to be 5-5 or 6-4. Like it's going to be super close. So just be careful of running your exposures, making sure they're what you want. So I don't have a strong lean either way. So I'm curious your take, but as far as like building optimally, I think Song's the guy that I would want to plug in. But sounds like Simon just doesn't have the experience, but he sounds like he's got the power, or he at least has the maybe the experience from fighting, but not the 5-round experience.
Yeah, not the 5-round. He definitely has been in plenty of fights though. But
right.
So yeah, I don't have a strong lean when it comes. This is kind of like last week for me, where I don't have a strong lean on who's gonna win. I have a strong lean when it comes to stronger lean when it comes to DFS. So like last week, I was like, I'll take the plus money all day with Sergey Pavlovich, but in DFS, give me Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades came in less owned. I thought it was going to be similar though, but Curtis Blades had all the takedown upside and top control upside in the world. It fits DK scoring, whereas Pavlovich needs it on the feet, defending takedowns. He could get a second, third round knockout, maybe not be optimal. Whereas I thought any win by Curtis Blades would be optimal. Now you go to this week, same sort of thing where Ricky Simone is the Curtis Blades. He averages over 6 takedowns per 15 minutes. Song Yadong, very good striker. Like, I mean, last week Curtis Blades didn't shoot for takedowns. You never know what these guys do. You can guess, you can watch tape, you can do whatever you do, and this is what they should do. Sometimes come Saturday, they don't do it. That's the variance we play in this sport. But I'd be shocked if Ricky Simone doesn't try and shoot for takedowns, because Ricky Simone's good on the feet. Knocked down Jack Shore, then submitted him. Like, he has power in his hands. He's good on the feet. But Song Yadong's a stud on the feet. I don't think Ricky Simone wants to stand with Song for 25 minutes. That'd be dumb. So I think Ricky Simone goes for more takedowns. Song's defending takedowns a lot, which is why when it comes to DFS, 8,400 Simone, 7,800 Song Yadong. If one guy is going to be defending takedowns a lot of the fight, being scared to maybe throw a little more volume, just be on the threat of the takedown, and one guy's going to get lots of takedowns, a lot of control time, just the upside, the floor and ceiling combo from Ricky Simone compared to Song Yadong is just night and day. So I'll have more Ricky Simone in this fight. Like I said, I have no clue who wins this fight. Like, if this is plus 130,
50-50 basically.
So fair. I mean, both these guys are complete studs, but one guy has so much more upside in DFS compared to the other, just his style. Ricky Simone, relentless takedowns, get some top control, dump you back down. He'll just grab you. He'll chain wrestle. I like my guys in DFS. I like, when I'm watching the fight, having those guys that I know will do that. Instead, if they're on the feet at range, yes, give me Song Yadong. But like, Ricky Simone is a good striker. Like, if he knocked out Song Yadong, I'd be a little surprised. I wouldn't be shocked by any means, though. Ricky Simone is that dude. Whereas I'd be shocked if Song Yadong comes out here and gets 8 takedowns and 12 minutes of control time, whereas Ricky Simone definitely has that in his bag. So I just think there's way more pass for better scores for Ricky Simone. But I do think ownership will kind of be like that too. I got Simone 45, Song Yadong somewhere around 35. So I'll have both sides of this fight. Give me 100% of this fight. That's why I rather like the leverage off of Journey Newson, Rodolfo Vieira. I'd rather leverage off that way instead of getting leverage by not playing this main event. I just don't really see it. I think the winner is on the optimal. So yeah, give me 100% of this fight. I'll have more Simone though.
Yeah, super easy way to do that in Saber, because you can set a group to just say, you know, at least one from this fight, but you can still set your max exposure not to have like 90% of one fighter. Yep. So good way to do it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Any final thoughts besides having 100% of the final fight. And then that's where your cards will lay at the end of the night.
I mean, my final thought for everyone is just, so don't go in and plug in Journey Newson to start at 7,300, Kyle Bahio at 9,500, one of Ricky Simone or Song Yadong. Then you're like, yeah, we can find a 9,100 Rodolfo Vieira, and then what do I land? Don't do that. It's too obvious. Having 7,300 Journey Newson, you can leave salary on this card. If you have 49.3 for your lineup, you're leaving 700 salary, and Journey Newson's in that lineup. Well, Journey Newson should be priced like 8,900 this week.
Right. Yeah.
So you're pretty much over the salary if you're thinking about it that way. Just leave salary. Do not plug in the top guys, top highest owned. You'll be holding hands with everyone. We can all be very confident in something with MMA, especially if there's any sport to get different, it's baseball and it's MMA. Mike Trout can go over 5 any single day. Jacob deGrom can get lit up any single day. Minus 800 favorites can get knocked out in the first round. You're playing with 3-ounce gloves, 4-ounce gloves, whatever it is. So be different. You can leave some salary. Just don't jam in all the chalk. You should feel pretty uncomfortable when it's all said and done with some of your lineups on 11 fight cards. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's not the best card. I'd be lying to you if I said it was, but we got a big pay-per-view next week. I will not be on the show. It'll be you and DC breaking it down. I'll playbook and all that up as always. I got a wedding to attend, but yeah, next week, big pay-per-view. So the UFC gave us whatever we had, whatever they had. And I'll always take fights on my screen on Saturday.
Absolutely.
So no complaints over here.
And they're done before midnight, which is nice, at least for East Coast time. So,
well, I'm 3 hours behind East Coast, so whatever it is, I can never complain.
You can finish it up and then go to dinner. But
yeah.
It's nice when they don't finish at like 3 a.m. and you like have to either decide go to sleep or I'm staying up all night. Sometimes I just go to sleep and figure out what I just like one spin of the wheel and when I wake up. Yeah. But appreciate everybody tuning into the show. Lock is 4:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Pretty good contest, $18, 100K to first, some smaller, higher dollar stuff, but I'm sure I didn't pull up the satellites, but I bet there's some good satellites for next week. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Best of luck this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. Leave it a like, subscribe, and you can find us at runpuresports.com. Title, get us out of here.